morning to our lovely viewers and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show today, Tuesday, 2nd August 2022. Apologies for starting our show late. It was due to circumstances beyond our control. Nevertheless, we continue with our breakfast show for today, Tuesday, where we're going to talk about a number of various issues. But first of all, to present the show, I am Zipporah Mshela, joined by my co-host Miriam Kariba. How are you, Miriam?
I'm good, Zipporah. How are you?
I'm good. You don't look that energetic. Do you need some exercise?
I think I do. I do need the exercise because early in the morning today and yesterday I did mention on the show that I didn't exercise as well as today. So, you know, I'm becoming lazy. Yeah, I should admit I need to exercise. But anyway, we thank God for the gift of life that He has given us. We thank God that we are here again on this set to bring nothing but the best for our viewers. Exactly.
Yes, and so at 7:30 we're going to be joined by a medical doctor, Dr. Teddy Mulinga, who's just going to help us discuss the way forward on maybe discontinuing harmful traditional beliefs. In the recent 2 weeks, we have seen incidences, especially in rural parts of Zambia, where some people have actually lost their lives due to some traditional beliefs. For example, a man visiting Wapula province lost his life because a coffin allegedly pointed at him as the one who killed the person who was actually dead, and that person was actually lynched to death. So really, what kind of sensitization do people have to do out there? So the doctor is just going to help us delve deeper into that topic. And at 8 hours, we're going to be joined by Dr. Brian Sampa, who's actually known for the ban alcohol campaign. Now, just a few weeks ago, Dr. Sampa walked from Lusaka to Kawe in his campaign calling for the banning of alcohol, and we're going to expect your views. But before we go any further, we always have our health corner.
Exactly. It's always important, Zipporah, that we know what the doctors have for us, and not forgetting to our viewers who are watching out there, in case you didn't know, the health corner is up for sponsorship. If you want to continue getting those healthy tips from the doctors, please do know that the health corner is up for sponsorship. But this morning, Zipporah, let us find out what Dr. Chelo Mwanza has for us.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to today's health segment, proudly brought to you by the Medical Women Association of Zambia. I'm Dr. Chelo Mwanza. I'm a baby doctor and currently working at the National Heart Hospital, where we take care of children that actually present with heart diseases and many others that they may come with. Just a recap from what we talked about yesterday. We had an overview of what congenital heart diseases are, and we mentioned that actually these are defects in the heart that children get born with, and how that they present differently depending on what the defect is in the heart. Some children may be born pink, or others may be born having toes and fingers, their mouths and their lips looking darker than usual. We also talked about how that these can actually lead to various complications, and we are going to continue encouraging our viewers, our parents out there, the guardians, that if your child happened to have any of the symptoms that we talked about, and I'm going to repeat them just to remind ourselves of what to look out for in a child that you might think has a heart defect. We want to see these children early so that we don't catch them at a point where we may not be able to do anything for them. So just remind ourselves, children born with congenital heart disease may present when they are just born. So in the newborn period, this is a child that is going to present with difficulties breathing, they'll have difficulties breastfeeding. Actually, they are noted to be sweating excessively even as they breastfeed. They may also take breaks while breastfeeding to catch a breath. You may notice that this child also may not gain adequate weight and even height as well. And this is a child that may be getting tired even as they play with their friends. They may not be as active as the other friends, and even this is a child that may be squatting at times when they're playing with children. So these are some of the things that as parents, as guardians, as neighbors, as even teachers, we do bring our children to schools, and the teachers actually get to be our eyes out there. You may notice one of these things in the children, and would like you even to actually have a chat with the parents so that they may seek medical attention. So today we are going to talk about one particular heart defect that a child may present with. So this is a child that may be looking pink just like any other person. So when I'm talking about looking pink, I mean in the hands, in the toes, the tongue may be as pink as any other child. But then you may notice that this is a child that has difficulties breathing at times. When you look at their chest, they seem to have a heart that's pumping faster than usual, or even, pumping forcefully more than usual. So today we're going to talk about what we call a ventricular septal defect. In short, we call it VSD. I think that should be easier for you to, know about the condition of the child. So a child with a VSD, let me just give a brief description of the heart. So we have 4 chambers, so 2 on top and 2 at the bottom. So at the bottom, we call those chambers ventricles. So if a child has a VSD, it means the 2 chambers at the bottom has a hole where the blood does mix. Or the blood moves from one chamber to the other, and they tend to have a lot of blood being pumped to the lungs. So these children mostly will present with difficulties breathing because they have more than enough blood going to the lungs than they are supposed to. So this child will have difficulties breathing, they will be having difficulties breastfeeding. This is a child that may not gain adequate weight. This is a child that will prefer, when you make them lie down, let's say even sleeping, they may need to use a lot of pillows. That's in older children. At some point, these children, especially the older ones, the school-going children, you may notice that their legs, their feet start to swell, their tummy also starts to swell. And if you happen to see any of these signs in your child may have a heart defect and would want you to bring the child to the hospital for screening. Yeah. So, the problem with having a congenital heart disease that's not diagnosed on time is that these children may complicate. In the end, this is a heart that will fail to work as it's supposed to because it's been overworking for a very long time. So the heart will fail. Eventually, the lungs will also fail because they're getting more blood than they're supposed to. So they'll not oxygenate blood as they are supposed to. And then if this is a child that goes to school, they'll tend to, miss on school time because they'll be in hospital from time to time for various chest infections because of the increased blood flow that's going to the lungs. And so we don't want our children to miss on school time. Education is very important for these children. So let's seek medical help as soon as possible. So our message to our viewers out there is, if any of your children, or even a neighbor's child, even your sister's child, is presenting with any of these things that we've talked about, your child may have a congenital heart disease, and we may want to screen them so that they get their treatment on time. Our message is early screening, screening, and screening, and screening. There is no one way of preventing this congenital heart disease, and the only way we could help our children is by getting them to get their diagnosis early and starting them on treatment before their heart actually does fail in carrying out its function. We want to also remind ourselves that dental hygiene is very important. A child with a congenital heart disease, not even just one with a congenital heart disease, actually every child should have, their teeth taken care of. They need to brush their teeth twice every day, in the morning and even before going to bed. Or in between, they could also use mouthwash to make sure no food particles remain in the mouth, because if they do have these food particles in the mouth, they're going to cause an increase in the number of germs that may eventually go to the heart and even cause more problems for the heart. The heart will get sicker than it is. So let's help our children to have a healthy mouth and even healthy teeth. This is all for today, and thank you for watching us, and see you on the next segment.
There you have it. That was the Healthy Corner that the doctors from the Medical Women Association have continued to bring for us, Zipporah. I hope our viewers out there have learned one or two things. It's very important. I'm glad that we have them on the show, you know, for them to bring us more different topics with regards to different healthy issues. I'm glad that we do have the doctors. And anyway, like I mentioned earlier before we went on that Healthy Corner, that the Healthy Corner is up for sponsorship. It's up for sponsorship. In case you want to continue watching those doctors, please do sponsor that segment so that you can continue having them on this show. Right about now, Zipporah, we'll go direct to see how our kwacha is performing against the other currencies. So we have the United States dollar buying at 16 kwacha, 21 ngwe, and selling at 16 kwacha, 53 ngwe. And we have the euro there buying at 16 kwacha, 45 ngwe, and selling at 16 kwacha, 78 ngwe. Then we have the British pound buying at 19 kwacha, 57 ngwe, and selling at 19 kwacha, 96 ngwe. And then we have the South African rand buying at 19 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha. That is our foreign exchange for today, the 2nd of August 2022. Zipporah, your thought on the kwacha? I've seen like we said last time that our currency now has gained value, and it's 6th the strongest currency that we have in Africa. What's your thought on that? Looking that we're heading in the, are we heading in the right trajectory as we go?
Like yesterday, we even heard the spokesperson at the Ministry of Information, that's the director, Mr. Tawakawan, actually saying the kwacha is now like bullying other currencies, because I saw it 2 days ago, they're saying the kwacha is now competing against the Russian ruble to become one of the strongest currencies in the world.
Interesting.
So that's how that also translates to us here.
Interesting.
Because if we're now competing with these other major countries.
Imagine you're talking about Russia. Wow.
If we're now competing, maybe to be second after Russia, you know that really it means that we're going in the right place.
Well,
I just hope that we even reach up to summer 5 kwacha.
Yeah.
Like it used to be. Then Zambia will be a paradise, really.
Yeah, I know, and I think by then we should have addressed the high cost of living that we continue to face in the country.
At over 50%. Currently. And just a reminder to our viewers, you can actually come through and also sponsor the money market, just like the health segment. And so moving on, and now we're going to take a look at one of our interesting stories from yesterday, Miriam, where we saw women with disabilities actually stating that men are shunning from marrying them because of their disabilities. So, you know, there's no law which can be passed. It's actually someone's stress, but I think the men out there heard the women's complaints and actually saying they're able to do everything. Maybe washing and all those things. But really, Miriam, for me, I don't feel that should be a measure of marriage, because the wife is not a maid. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. Let's take a look at that story.
They say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and these beautiful women from Lusaka's Chawama constituency have reached out to Camnet TV seeking an audience for what they term as a misfortune. These 3 women are physically challenged, and because of their condition, they have been unable to find love, or rather a man willing and honest enough to marry them. When speaking to this reporter, Margaret Tembo, 44, of Lusaka's Chawama constituency, says she was once married to her husband who in the year 2013 decided to run away, leaving her with 5 children to fend for all by herself without considering her condition. These women have lamented that they face several challenges in regards to finding love and a man to marry them, as most of them think there would be nothing but a burden to them.
Challenges monga pankania vikwats. Uzapeza mwamuna angakufune bwino akukonda kuma fests but akambomvera voka mbabantu na bablulu bake upeza takusira chabe mwana ku dumping aenda chifika cha situation yatu ya mnitirimo chita tikwanisa kuchita chiri chonse cha mniting anga kwanisa mtuntulu tima chita kuwasha tiwasha kupyanga tipyanga kupika tipika na kumusunga mwamuna bwino mwananga chitira mtuntulu perangu na kumuchira ndaba isetika konda timakonda.
And Susan Mumba, 50, of the same area, who shares a similar story, says men should desist from thinking women with disabilities are incapable of keeping a man in their home, adding that they are also capable of doing the things that able people can do, and even more effectively.
So, bafuna batusafe consider na fubene turakabila okukwata amayanda turakabila okukwata amayanda okukwata kafo wesu inga tuafirishako okuringana na challenge yetu ingapita mwamona so ine ni kwata abana number through those challenges abalume besu barafira kwikala na ifwe kulatinishiwo kwati kuchibarense kati au pwechidema.
Lufreja Lupia, 57, who is also a national advocate on rights for persons with disability, has also added a voice.
Now let me talk. Imwe, na ifo bene, love ipela batunturu, na ifo love tupela baume. Nomba bushokulemana ekantu. Okulemana te kantu au chakwati bale chita okay ntina lando kwa tera kwa tunturu bene tomba wa upaka onda taka kwa tara ngoni figa taka there are something like that but for us it's worse.
Meanwhile, a clergyman, Bishop John Mambo, has called on families to show love and affection towards persons with disabilities, saying that if a man chooses to marry a person with a disability, family members should not stop him, as we are all made in the image of God.
So I think the church, we must put our house in order and speak to such, not only speak to such, but to pray over it, because it's very, very painful. No one chooses how he or she is to be born. Even I, as I talk to you, I am both. I have got glaucoma. That's handicap.
Messi Chanika reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Quite interesting story there. So I'm sure people out there have heard. Please don't discriminate against women with disabilities. I mean, thought of that story.
Well, it's a very quite interesting story. It's a human interest story. I love the fact that you know, I think it's a matter of family coming together, and then you know that providing the counseling, that the necessary counseling that needs to be there. Because like from you have heard from the women, they are saying that a guy can approach you, a man can approach you nicely, but in the process, when you start going out, you will hear his relatives tell him that, no, stop, you cannot be with this person because of her physical challenge and stuff like that. So this is something that we also need to educate our families, that, you know, these people, persons with disabilities, are not people that we should discriminate from. They are also human beings like us, you know. They are feelings like us, like they said, you know, they said their feelings, they said they are able to, you know, manage a home and do everything just like another person can do. So it's a challenge that they were putting out there to the men. So anyway, those
I'm sure I've been seeing, and I'm sure you saw how they made sure to actually that mental address. So I'm sure the men out there have heard. Please give those women a chance.
They did very much advocate for themselves to ensure that, hey, we are visible, we are here, we are marketing ourselves. This is what we want. But anyway, at the end of the day, these are people who want to have a home of their own, Zipporah. They want to have a family of their own. So it's very, very important.
I think so. Also, maybe sensitizing communities in terms of discrimination.
Exactly.
There's a lot of discrimination against women or persons with disabilities in general, and so it's even worse.
It's even worse, you know, especially in compounds like Mississippi, Warrior, and stuff like that. You know, people do not have much knowledge about this. So the way they would react or approach it differently. Yeah. Anyway, moving on away from that, Zipporah, right about now, we are going direct into our next segment, and we are going to be joined shortly by our guest this morning. And to our viewers out there who are if in case you have just tuned in, this is the Camnet TV Breakfast Show, and this morning we are going to be talking about ending harmful traditional beliefs, and we will be joined shortly by Dr. Teddy Mulenga. If you want to contribute to this topic that we have this morning, please do call us in, and those watching us direct on Facebook, please do send us those comments. We'll be able to read them through. But right about now, we'll take a short break and we will be right back.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Rain Glow, your smart irrigation partner.
So welcome back, and we're now joined by a medical doctor, Dr. Teddy Mulenga, to just help us discuss the way forward on ending harmful traditional beliefs here in Zambia. So just to set maybe like a premise for our discussion, we're talking about the incidents that have been happening in some parts of the country where certain people have actually died in instances of mob justice because maybe a coffin pointed at them. So that those beliefs where when someone dies of suspicions of witchcraft, some people carry a coffin, and it is believed that if the coffin actually points at that person, then that person is the one who killed him. But then people have been questioning how effective is that method, seeing that the coffin is actually carried by people. What if that person is just hated in the community and people find that to be a chance to get them killed? So these practices are still being done in Zambia, with the latest being about 2 weeks ago, meaning that people still have this mindset, and so are now calling for more sensitization on the matter. But Dr. Mulenga will actually help us discuss the topic in detail. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Doc.
Camnet. it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be back here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And so maybe, Doc, what do you think would be causing people to believe in such things in today's 21st century? Where have we gone wrong as a country in ending such practices?
First of all, before I say what could lead to such kind of behavior, I would say, for me, I found it very, very hard to believe what's going on. In northwestern province in Kasempa, 2 people were buried alive. Alive. because they were accused of the same thing, witchcraft. Okay? And then in 3 incidences, separate incidences, 3 people were killed out of what you mentioned, so-called coffin pointing at them. And the recent one is the nega one, isn't it? When people burnt somebody alive. So these are very worrying incidences in our country. What could be causing this kind of thing? I think every nation has gone through this stage. It's a stage of development. We are at a stage where superstition is still ruling us. So ignorance, lack of adequate education, and superstition, when you mix them, this is what you get. It was in England, it was in America years and years ago. And that's where we are. But then we have to work at it so that we don't go this route. You know, we are losing a lot of people. I remember that when a woman or a man, an old man, moves out of a house naked, they fall upon them and accuse them of witchcraft. And that's just misunderstanding of the conditions of old age in our people. So these are very sad things.
Okay, but then as a medical doctor, some people say maybe that person is accused of witchcraft. So maybe according to you as a medical doctor, do you feel that these accusations are actually valid? Maybe from your perspective, does witchcraft actually exist?
First of all, could you help me? What is witchcraft? Is important.
You are the doctor.
I understand witchcraft to be the use of.
Maybe let's say witchcraft.
They claim that witchcraft is the use of supernatural powers, right? Supernatural powers means transcending or going above the powers of nature. For example, gravity, that people can fly. Okay, but we know how flying came about. It was invented in Europe. So I'm wondering if in Zambia they have invented a way to fly other than aeroplane. So that is some form of what they claim is witchcraft. The ability to kill some people remotely. Okay, you are in Livingstone, somebody is in Samfia, he kills you. That is what is witchcraft. Does that exist? No, it doesn't. Does a man or a woman get on a broom or a basket and fly to Sesheke to kill other people? Nonsense. It doesn't. Can a person kill you when you're in Livingstone and is in Lusaka by use of a needle onto a shadow and then you die in Livingstone? No. It doesn't.
Given the fact that we have a lot of people who still believe in such supernatural stuff, are we doing enough to ensure that we sensitize, especially those in the rural parts of Zambia?
You know what I've observed is that whenever I talk about witchcraft to people, they always tell me, go to Vubwi, go to Kaputa, go to Mununga, go to Sesheke, go to Neganega. They never tell me to go to Kaburonga or Highbex, you understand? So the more an area is underdeveloped, the poorer the people, the less educated they are, the more superstitious they will be. That's why they say, go to Kaputa, you will see what will happen to you. Because those people are living in poverty, you understand? Now, if people were so clever as to fly, as to kill other people, why don't they improve their well-being? They are staying in poor thatched huts, no food, no nothing, but they are able to fly. Have you seen that contradiction? That's why it doesn't exist. So what can we do? Education, education, and education.
But have traditional leaders, for example, done enough to sensitize people? Because we've seen that the death toll for people who've been accused of witchcraft, for example, in rural areas, is still on a rise, given that we even saw the same instances in the media just a few weeks ago.
And the practice is still
ongoing.
It's like they're allowing that to happen.
No, you know, the sad part of it is that some chiefs do believe that witchcraft does exist, okay? Some chiefs, some don't, but very few don't. some policemen, okay, a bigger percentage of policemen actually believe that witchcraft exists. So you see, some policemen will be watching somebody being burnt alive and without intervention, because the person who is watching that himself believes it. You understand? So we have a lot of teaching, educating to do, including our police force, including our traditional healers, traditional chiefs. But fortunately, yesterday, is it Chief Monze or somebody? One of the chiefs was talking about it. He said he wants the law enforcement officers to do more to protect the people that are being killed unfairly. So some chiefs are aware that it is a wrong practice. It's leading to a loss of a lot of innocent lives, but it's only some. So the rest are also engrossed in ignorance.
No, Doc, we have the recruitment of health workers and teachers, and some of these are going to rural areas, but we've heard some of them maybe running away from their health posts or schools because
of such incidents of witchcraft,
yes,
of being attacked. You being a doctor out there,
since that now we have more teachers,
more teachers to be recruited and health workers, in short, are we seeing a situation where we have a lot of more people coming on board to ensure that they educate people in rural areas so that they can understand from a different perspective that witchcraft do not exist?
Right. It's a very interesting thing. You said teachers are fond of running away from rural areas, right? Why don't doctors and nurses run away?
They do.
Have you? No. All the reports we hear is that teachers cannot work in Mununga or Kaputa. I have never heard that nurses have run away from a clinic or a doctor. Have you ever heard of a doctor running away from Kaputa?
We have had such incidents.
Anyway, let me explain why. The reason is simple. Why do we don't run away from Kabulonga Primary School or secondary school or IBEX? It's because the conditions are okay. Now, in the rural areas, we blame the so-called witchcraft so that we can be taken away from there. It's not that the real witchcraft really occurs. Nothing occurs. But people are looking for excuses not to work in rural areas. That is the bare truth. Okay? So all this thing about, hey, no, they will be chased by witches, blah, blah, blah. No. The teachers do not want to work in the rural areas, and they look for excuses. That's it. As far as witchcraft is concerned, if you put it in your mind, if you believe that it is there, of course you get affected. Psychologically, you get affected. So the mind is very powerful. If I ask both of you to think of a lemon right now, close your eyes and think of a lemon, you find saliva in your mouth. That's how powerful the mind is. If you go to a rural area and believe that people want to kill you, yes, you see, you'll be hearing noises, you'll be having hallucinations, you'll be having delusions, you'll be seeing what is not there, because your mind is geared towards that. That's what is happening to our teachers in the rural areas.
In case you're just joining us, we're talking about the way forward on ending harmful traditional beliefs, which have actually led to a number of deaths in the past 3 weeks, in especially some rural areas of Zambia. So these have actually been lynched to death in incidences of mob justice on accusations of witchcraft. And Miriam, we actually have a comment from one of our viewers here on Facebook, who's actually posing a question to the doctor, saying, what should be done to end these traditional beliefs? So, doctor, what's your response to the viewer who's actually posed this question?
What should be done to end these traditional beliefs is what I'm doing. Okay? It is teaching, spreading the message, spreading awareness against superstitions. For example, a journalist stands up today and writes a headline, "Coffin points at a witch." Have you seen? How does somebody who has been to school produce such a headline? You are trying to assume that actually a coffin can point at a witch. So we have to teach each one of us to send the proper signals out there. There is no coffin that can point at anyone. There is no coffin that can walk. Once you are dead, you are dead. Okay? Maybe only Jesus Christ woke up. I don't know if anybody has ever woken up since Jesus Christ left. So how does a coffin being carried by 6 people point out a witch? It's actually the poor bearers who are carrying it where they want to carry it. And then you make headlines, you journalists. Coffin points at a witch and the witch is killed. Ah, come on, guys. That's your problem. So that's what we should do. Teach each other.
But I'll pose this question once again. Have we gone on the ground as doctors in partnership, in collaboration with various stakeholders, the NGOs, government, to sensitize people, especially in rural areas? Like you have put it, these people do not have much information. You won't find someone from Kablonga being told, there's a witch here and stuff like that.
Why? Because they are full. Okay? They are satisfied. There is water, there is food in the fridge. So there is no time to start thinking that to be superstitious in Kablonga or Abexi. You understand? Hunger in the villages, lack of education, poverty is the root of witchcraft. It's not a job of Miriam, it's not a job of a doctor actually to be fighting witchcraft. I'm just passionate about it because I've seen one time in Livingstone an old woman, 80 years old, was found in Idambwa naked at night. They wanted to kill her. The police took her, put her in detention to say she had crash landed from Sesheke, flying, you understand? She crash landed, so the people said. So they kept her for 4 days in prison. I mean in the police cells until we interfered because we suspected that it could have been a case of dementia. That's a loss of memory as you are getting older, or you have got alcoholism or some drugs. Just that disturbance in the brain can make you walk out naked. You don't remember anything. And indeed, when we took that woman to the hospital, it was discovered that she was demented. She had dementia. But yet she was almost killed in Idambwa, you understand.
But when you go to these rural parts of Zambia, a lot of people do not understand that. Just like I put it earlier on, are you doctors? Maybe, helping. You have put it quite all right that it's not your mandate to do that. But are you in one way helping so that you go on the ground and explain to people? Because most of the times you find old people are people who are accused of being practicing witchcraft.
Are we doing anything? For us, whenever we come across, I've just told you the incidents in Livingstone, right? When we heard about it, we suspected that that lady is not a witch. It could be to do with dementia, loss of memory and all other stuff, and loss of self-care. So we intervened. So we do intervene. And me sitting here is some form of intervention. I'm spreading awareness. So the more we do that, but then we have to speak to the chiefs. It's not only doctors, but I mean the entire community service ministries and all these people must come together. But the problem is, among all of you, 80% believe that coffins can point at witches. You understand? So we have a double fight. Even among the educated people who understand what death is, you still believe that a coffin can point at somebody. So it's not only the rural areas. I have seen on my forum, Doctors File on Facebook, 80% of the people who have done grade 12 still believe that a coffin can talk, can walk. Very unfortunate. I expect the villagers to do that. But on my forum, everybody has been to school. People have got diplomas, but they still believe that a coffin can walk. But it's walking, but it's being carried.
We've also now, Doc, we've also seen churches also playing a role in this, where some people have actually abandoned their parents because maybe their church leader told them that the parents are witches. For example, we did a story recently in Chilanga, that's Kasupe area, where an old woman was actually abandoned on allegations of witchcraft. So maybe what role do you feel the church plays in maybe handling such matters?
This is a very difficult question, Zipporah, you're asking, because there are some churches which promote such kind of practices. Among the churches, there are different churches. especially charismatic churches, right? You call them. You find they promote such kind of things. People can be said to be, somebody is being pulled by a pulley, but you don't see the wires that, no, he's going to heaven. So they are also promoting nonsense sometimes. But there are some churches which are grounded and which do not support this kind of belief. So I don't know if the other churches that promote superstition will change much, but the other churches, I think we can use them to promote sense in our people.
Okay.
We are losing sense. We are losing sense. This story of coffins is so, it's not even a child who is a grade 5 should believe such kind of nonsense. And adults are believing that. It's unfortunate.
And what's your advice maybe to those people who actually believe in this, when they find someone who they suspect to be a witch or in witchcraft, what action should they actually take?
Nothing.
To prevent mob justice?
Nothing.
No, maybe for example, should they take that person to the police or...
No, the thing is that...
protection, for their own protection, that person's protection.
For a start, if you suspect somebody is a witch, take them to the law enforcement officers. But me, my problem is that a large percentage of the so-called law enforcement officers also believe in witchcraft. So you take this one, some of them will actually support to you. They might protect you, of course, when you are being harmed. But unfortunately, a bigger percentage of our people actually believe it.
So moving forward, what do you think we should be doing as a country? Do you think there's a certain policy that we should put in place that in an event there's such an incident that is happening, please do not do mob justice on that person, because, you know, should they put a certain law or stuff like that?
Miriam, there is a Witchcraft Act. The laws are already there. Who cares? Our people, who cares? When you go to Northwestern Province, they will still bury you alive. The Witchcraft Act says now no person will claim to practice witchcraft, and those who do so, if they are suspected, should be taken to law enforcement. No, not for mob justice as it's happening. So witchcraft act is there. What is lacking in our country is spreading a lot of awareness, education. Because you, the educated people, have passed through school, you understand, and come out without a change, which is very unfortunate. So what should we do? Rebrand again awareness campaign. And like Dr. Sampa was working to ban alcohol, I think we should work to fight against witchcraft beliefs.
Maybe you should.
I think I should. At my age and collapse somewhere in Chirombo.
Now, Doc, we have, for example, the University of Zambia, which is actually the highest learning institution in the country. It actually has an option of studying these intangible arts, where you can actually conduct a research on witchcraft, whether it exists or not. And it being the highest learning institution, is it maybe somehow also inculcating this belief in people, since we're actually seeing that such things are studied at the highest level?
Zipporah, witchcraft is not an art.
It's very clear.
Witchcraft is not an intangible art. It does not exist, so it can't be art, intangible or anything like that. It's like you are talking about a ghost. You remember when we were young, Miriam and Zipporah, we used to see ghosts and feel them. Okay? We no longer do that. We've grown up. We know that a human being, once they are dead, they cannot wake up and come and harass you at night. But when we were young, we used to see these things. So there is nothing like witchcraft is an intangible art that can be studied. It does not exist. And the University of Zambia doesn't have that time to even introduce. Those were just...
They're not introduced, but if you're doing a research, you can actually study that on master's level.
Study what? Witchcraft? You can study anything that's sociology. Anything that affects the life of people can be studied. You can carry out a study. One time I had a friend of mine in South Africa who offered $10,000 to anybody who would prove, he was doing a research, master's, who would prove that witchcraft does exist. Up to today, he's still having that $10,000. So he did the research.
Talking about ending harmful traditional beliefs, we have seen various beliefs where you'll find a certain man, you're told, no, if you are HIV positive, you should sleep with young girls, so this is when you'll get cure. What's your take on that?
It's still terrible. I mean, these are still on the same level like witchcraft. It's nonsensical. It just smells of ignorance, you know, where people do not understand what is HIV/AIDS, how it is transmitted, how it is cured, and all that and all. So this is just a package of ignorance, let me say, about disease process and how it is transmitted. There is no way that somebody can be better because someone has, you know, been with a younger person and all that and all that. So
we've also seen people with albinism actually losing maybe part of their hands because people believe that this can actually be used to enhance their wealth. What's your message to those people, even as we get to conclude on this segment?
It is the same problem that when a Zambian sees somebody succeeding, they don't think that it is hard work. And that is very unfortunate. They think that there must be something in the fridge calling customers. A piece of a body or something like that. The body parts of albinos in Malawi and Tanzania are highly,
actually reading an article
on demand. Yes.
From Tanzania, where they were saying it's actually like, is it body parts actually fetching for a very exorbitant amount? So maybe what's your message even to maybe these same people who are actually in the practice of such harmful practices? My
message is that it does not make sense. What I've seen is that riches only come through hard work. And expecting that it's a body part that is bringing money is just a complete, you know, what in my language I say crapado. You know, something that doesn't make any sense at all. It is not scientific. On any level you might think about it. It's just lack of appreciating that hard work pays. And those people work hard will always get something out of their hard work. All the other things is just superstitions.
Now, Doc, we have some people here actually challenging your view on Facebook.
They always do.
So anyway, so we have a comment here from one of our viewers, Mr. Edwin Zulu, who actually says, integrated science is part of witchcraft. Spells, incantations, altars, and Ouija boards, cannibalism, spiritualism, jealousy, and speaking negatives exists. So even since we're actually trying to advocate maybe for such practices to be put to an end, what is your message to the viewers out there even as we wrap up on this segment?
I'm even lost for words. I don't know what to tell the viewers. I am so disappointed with our Zambian psyche, our Zambian thinking. I would like to appeal to the viewers. Witchcraft is in your mind. It's what you imagine is going to happen to you that happens to you. Do not go after your neighbor. Do not go after an old woman or old man you see strangely behaving as witches. These things are caused by psychological problems as people are getting older. Coffins don't move. Remember that coffins cannot move. What moves is the pallbearer. So please do not believe these kind of things, and do not do any act towards your neighbor, towards your, you know, your village mate that would suggest that the person needs to be punished because of witchcraft. That's my appeal.
And you know, the pallbearers would always make it seem or look as if it's the coffin that is moving, so that people believe that this is actually what is happening.
You know, I don't know what to say to that. Do we really still have people who think that when somebody dies, somebody can still move? Do we have such?
Like you had put it, we
I'm wondering, I mean, do we have people actually believing it? I don't understand what kind of
People do believe, doctor.
They do believe.
I think I can say 95% of Zambians do
Yes,
believe.
sir.
So how long or do you feel we have to actually end these harmful traditional practices? How much work remains for us to be done?
I think for you, Miriam and Zipporah, you are already spoiled. We need to work on our children. You understand? For you, you are already spoiled. So we shall have to work on our children.
On the next generation.
Education system must change. So that
don't you think we should start by
change the curriculum so that we don't teach you superstition. You, Miriam and Zipporah, you grew up in primary school being taught superstition. And right now, it's difficult for us to rub it out. So we shall start with our children, teach them that for you to get this...
Don't you think if we don't rub it out from us, starting with this generation, we are capable of passing it to the next generation?
No, you won't, because our education system will protect our children. You will not pass it on. So, you guys, it's a hopeless game. I've tried. We have tried. It's a losing game. You are spoiled because your education perpetuated superstition right from age 3 up to today. You are steeped in superstition. So, we shall move you out, deal with our children. Education system must change. Our children must believe in science. Our children must understand that you can't send lightning. Lightning is a lot of volts of electricity. There is no human being who can send lightning to another. But we have people here in Zambia who think they can send lightning to kill somebody. Which scientists cannot even, cultivate to give us electricity. It is so high voltage that if you come near it, you die. And yet we hear, oh, you were sent lightning by somebody else. So that kind of level is what we should correct in young age. Teach them what electricity is, so they don't think it can be created by a human being and sent to somebody else. You guys are already spoiled.
But Doc, Zambia being a Christian nation, don't you feel that maybe that's one of the reasons people actually do believe in witchcraft, given that it is mentioned in the Bible?
I'm not sure Zambia is a Christian
nation. It is a Christian nation. Actually,
it is proclaimed.
According to the statistics,
listen to me. It's proclaimed a Christian nation. Yeah, but Zambia, for me, is a secular nation. Okay, it's composed of many religions. But some president proclaimed it as Christian because he was Christian. I think it's secular.
Anyway, that's your opinion.
No, I'm saying Zambia is a secular nation.
Yes, it is a secular
I'm a Catholic.
But the Christian doesn't believe in witchcraft.
What?
They believe witchcraft exists.
No. My Pope, the Pope in Italy, does not believe in witchcraft. Catholics don't believe in witchcraft. They don't believe in witchcraft. Catholics have done a lot of study in science. Our fathers are so highly educated. They don't believe in superstition. Never. Yes. Miriam is not a Catholic. Are you a Catholic? No.
No, I'm not.
Zipporah is not Catholic also.
What are other different harmful traditions that we have continued to see in our country, Zambia?
Your country, the most harmful tradition I've seen is the use of herbs, unstudied herbs to treat sometimes diseases that cannot even be treated, like asthma, blood pressure, diabetes. So people go around being cheated, and also the harmful practice of believing that you can enlarge your organs or make your breasts tighter, your hip enlarged. These practices using herbs and mixtures, I found them very harmful because at the end of the day you find the kidneys are harmed, the liver is harmed, and these are some of the practices that I think are very disappointing.
But we have seen a lot of people, especially places like City Market, Kamwala, a lot of people, marketeers, advertising these products, and people are going there in numbers to have access to these same products. Is it just their mind that is convincing them that this is actually working, or does it really, really work?
No.
Do those products really work?
No, they don't. But you see, it's the same thing like we're discussing witchcraft. we are dealing with a population that is educated. Because if, Miriam, you knew that asthma has no cure, why are you going to go to Kamala to buy some herbs to cure asthma? So you have lacked that knowledge. Somewhere, that knowledge did not permit into your life, and you missed that knowledge. Epilepsy, hypertension, diabetes, all have no cure, but people are going to Kamala to buy all sorts of, concoctions. They don't work. But we are operating again on the level of ignorance of our people. So it's more and more awareness, spreading awareness. That's the only way to go about it.
Now, Doc, maybe moving on, we're talking also about persons with disabilities. We've seen many of these actually face discrimination, maybe due to various beliefs that people have. Just earlier, we were playing a certain story where some women are actually complaining that they've not been married. We've also heard many superstitions about people marrying. For example, if you marry an albino and other people with disabilities, they have got all these negative traditional beliefs about them. So what is the meaning? Maybe they'll have all sorts of maybe deformed children and all that. What's your message to the viewers out there, since persons with disabilities also face discrimination in that area?
It's unfortunate. I would have wished that people understand that a disability is not an airborne disease, a contagious disease that somebody, if you marry somebody who is disabled, then your child will come out disabled, or you become sick or anything like that. It's not a contagious condition. It's just another variant of living. And so people must appreciate that disability is not inability. They are able to do whatever everybody else does. And so we should move away from such kind of practices. It's not a disease, it's not contagious, it doesn't jump from one person to the other. So why should we be mistreating such people?
Actually, we have seen, just like you have said, we have seen a lot of people say, I cannot marry a woman or a man who has albinism because my child or our children, maybe 2 or 3 who have this condition. Does that happen according to genetics or what?
Yeah, it's a misunderstanding. Again, it's all again about ignorance here, knowledge, lack of knowledge. Because if people understood what albinism is, how it comes about by somebody carrying a gene of albinism, another person carrying another gene of albinism. When the two of them add 1 + 1, okay, gene. Yeah, it's either one is albino, the other one is albino, or they are both normal, but they are carrying some genes. And then when the genes mix, albinism comes up. So if people don't understand the simple genetics that we learned in grade, I think, 11, from 3 is what, grade 10. Yeah, simple genetics, how things mix. That's when you get such kind of misleading attitudes. I can't marry this one because of this one. No.
And Doc, like in primary school, we have that course. What is it called? The one where you learn different religions.
Religious education.
That's in
RE.
There's now in primary school we have actually that one. I think that's in grade 3, where you learn different types of beliefs, and you find that traditional beliefs, the traditional mode where you believe in spirits, it's actually one of those things that are taught. So you're taught there's Christianity, there's Islam, then now there's traditional beliefs and all those things. So
that fire is a god, right?
Yes.
Okay, the sun is a god and all that, those beliefs.
Could that also be maybe causing such, should we actually change that and maybe raise sensitization in the curriculum? Should we actually change that and actually maybe try to maybe dispute such beliefs?
Or just scrap it off from completely.
You are very aggressive, Miriam. I think, like I said, the basis of all what is happening is a wrong education system. If you inculcate in young people wrong principles about life, then the end result is, as adults, who believe that coffins can point to witches. We are a product of such kind of education. So the approach should be to fine-tune our education system to remove all superstitious-based beliefs from the children. They don't need to think that fire can be a spirit or to believe that fire has got power to control them or anything like that. In reality, it hasn't. These are things we used to believe in olden days of our ancestors. So why should we teach them to our young children?
Okay, so we have another comment here from one of our viewers who says, some politicians, businessmen, and women seek for divination for them to succeed in life or be promoted at a place of work or in business. 80% of people consult the underworld and marine spirits. They live a life of superstition and fear and seek for protection. And just in line with this, Doc, I was reading an article about 2 days ago where one of the mortuary, I don't know if it's here in Zambia, but one of the mortuary attendants was actually saying they have a lot of people, that's bishops, as well as business people, who actually go to these mortuaries seeking to buy water, maybe for some supernatural powers out there. So maybe seeing that that is the case, what's your response to the same scenario that's happening?
And you know, we have, just adding on to what my colleague has said, we have seen a lot of people who would come back with testimonies that, no, because I did this, I'm now rich, I have money. We have heard rumors about that. We have seen that.
Yeah, so, you know, some of us have taken tea in the mortuary, right? The fridges are this side with bodies. We sit there and the mortuary attendant make tea and we drink tea.
Peacefully.
Peacefully. I've slept in a graveyard up to morning, peacefully. And
But what was the point of you going to the graveyard and sleeping there?
I was lost. I was running away from Zambia National Service camp. Okay, then in the night, so I got lost from Ndola Mushiri camp, and so I ended up, I didn't know, I ended up saying until morning, let me rest, because I couldn't see where to go. And when I woke up, I was actually lying on a cross, no, a cross, and I looked all over the crosses. Then I remembered your story is what you are talking about. So actually, you can actually stay in a mortuary, have tea, have lunch in the mortuary. It's very clean, part of it. You can sleep in a graveyard and nothing can happen to you. So, coming back to what issue are you raising there?
I was saying, you know, a lot of people would say, no, I went to this doctor.
The water from the mortuary. Why I was talking about the graveyard and mortuary taking tea is that depending on how you have been brought up, I've been brought up in the medical field, where we don't have that superstition. So mortuary water is just water that is used to wash a body, just like we wash and bath in the bathrooms. There is no different. That body is just dead. They are just washing it. So why do people think that water is special? The water is the same water which you drain out when you are bathing. You are just a body. The only difference is that one is you are breathing, the other one is not breathing. So the water is just dead water. Nothing special, no miracle powers about it. So that's why I was saying most of these things are in the mind. If you believe that mortuary water will make you rich, of course you will go and buy it. The mortuary attendant will faithfully sell it to you, of course, because it's making money.
What should actually be done to these mortuary attendants if they're caught in the act of sex?
We arrest them.
And they are not supposed to. Another interesting thing when we're talking about mortuaries, well, we've heard stories of people waking up in these mortuaries and allegedly being killed by the mortuary attendants. What's your view on such?
Yeah, that's enough. You know, you find this family going to collect a body and then say, brother, what shoni kamunga insana uka, and then you have mortuary attendant wanamume because we found blood.
Yes.
We have heard those stories.
Yes, people said the people bleed and what and what. Again, you don't ask us. If you ask doctors, they will explain to you that changes after death. There is gas production under the skin. It bursts, it produces bleeding in the nose. How long after you have died? You may start bleeding from the ears and all that. Because of gas decomposition with the body parts. But you don't ask us and you start concluding that no, it was a sandal, a hammer that was used on the person when the person woke up. Come on, guys. When you die, you die. You understand? Very few people have woken up in the mortuary. Those who have done so, it's just a few minutes of being wheeled there or being put in the fridge. And it's because of human error in certifying death, because we follow certain signs. No heartbeat, no pulse, no reflex, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes, human error, you miss. The heart is moving slightly, you miss it. You think the person is dead. Those are the people who can recover. But if they do, on the way or when they are being, prepared, nobody kills nobody. These are just stories. I've been working for 34 years. I have never seen anybody killed in the mortuary after waking up. And how many have woken up? I've seen none.
And Doc, and just talking about maybe in the similar vein, we've also heard of people's communities. Like, for example, when I was young, there's this family which was living, I used to hear that they had a lilomba at their place. And so, you find that maybe when water goes in your area, they're the only ones who are at the well. They're the only ones who had the well at their place. And so people used to actually be scared of going to draw water there. There was that discrimination from society. So in such a case, for example, if it's in a village setup, you find that maybe that person can actually even be lynched to death. So really, what's your view on things such as lilombas should they actually exist?
The other day, did you see a Facebook thing that a small plane crash landed, which was being flown by which it ran out of fuel?
Yeah, I saw that.
That's the same story like she's talking about, Ilomba, right? You find them in Livingstone Museum and all that. The objects actually exist. Do they do what people claim they do? Of course not. You understand? They exist because the people who are creating them believe that they have got the powers to do this. So in their confusion, they pick up objects, make funny things, and they believe this is Lilomba to affect this one. Yes, if you want to be affected, you'll be affected. I've already proven to you the work of the mind by the lemon example, right? If you believe Lilomba is going to affect you, it will affect you. If you are like me, you can even bring 100 Lilombas on me. It won't affect me. So people make those things. But are they truly powerful? No. They can't.
And we've also seen a lot of posters out there. We've seen a lot of posters where different, this person here says if you want to get rich...
Before, let me just hold your thought. We have a call. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Hello, good morning.
Oh. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
We can get you. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Thank you for the program. I want to ask the doctor, why is it that when somebody is dead and they are preparing the body to the morgue, they tie? You find they tie them with strings here and there. Is there a risk that at one point they come alive again? Thank you.
Thank you. Doc, there's a question there. Why is it that they tie the dead bodies?
And they actually put things like plates,
No. He's asking about us in the hospital. Zipporah is talking about her in the village, what they put there. But us in the hospital, when somebody dies, we can't leave them naked. Indeed, we can't. Isn't it? I mean, the person dies in the ward. There are other people in the ward there. Is he telling me that we should leave that person undressed? No. We remove the clothes which the person was putting on because they may not need them right after death. And we put them in these bed sheets, right? Some white or whatever color, nicely wrap them in. We don't tie them like criminals, like
he said you were tying them.
No, we don't do that. We tie.
Don't tie them. They tie the body.
We wrap the body and put a tie so that the cloth does not come out. Not because of anything that maybe they will start struggling. No, we don't do that. We just nicely wrap because first of all they have to be dressed. and we wrap them so that it will be easier for you to wash the body. Okay, imagine when the body is dead, it becomes stiff. Now, if the shirt is with the body, it becomes very difficult for you to take that one out and dress them, wash them. But if you is in a bed sheet, it's easier to unwrap, wash the body, and then dress them up. Easier than when they die with the clothes on and you leave them for a long time.
Do you think the mushrooming of traditional healers, posters that we'll continue seeing in the streets of Lusaka, in compounds, different compounds, do you think this is slow? Okay, before I finish my question, we have a caller. Hello, good morning. Bueno, mwenye bwanji.
Wino.
Mutumira kuti.
Kumonze.
Tikamba na wandani.
Lakrevina Mauni.
It's good to know that kumonze mutamba. Tiuza contribution yani ya lero.
Question yanga nifunza mukamba video la fit. Ya ushwa video la fit.
Why mkamba so? Why mfuta so?
Finally, then now so nikamba na nini kuperati video la fit.
Munaona babwanji?
Unapata nyumba undokelekika matia ndio mmoja kiwana kiki. Bana tunakufa. Kama ndio 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 kama kwa mtu mtama sisi kwa kwa tunapata hai. So bila tena makala tu ani ndio tena ile TVco. Ndio kufika tu. Ninafikika hiyo program mwezi so kwa jambo ndio naenda bila ndio tunapata na so Llevo la cultura de soy chaval cual de año a la era porque mundial na mãe tem bastante como nenhum só na brachita só de hasta antes pasar que tem na beatira profi para ele kana maninga de físico ai está na maninga
so nimepata na mimi za mshiteso
anu za pesa kama kama tenda basi kama daraja ni sio problem kama vile so tena kana kula so jawan kwa yani Pero raíces de que famoso, raíces de no está de ahí de acá. Que no usa ya todo el mal la que grupo antes de buscar que ya más sin todo el mono, tenemos todo una cosa que no va a planificar a hacer que no. Tenemos matar que nunca de está. De matar el que está pasando. No hay nada que la propia. Pero la manera que lo funda ya, no estamos puestas ni cara ustedes.
So drama zinaweka soba manje? Drama zinaweka soba manje?
Tunapenda wakati wa usomi, maana kitafiti zinaweka soba sana. Nakwambia kusikiliza kwa watu kapani kwa yani kamunua. Sisi ndio kapani wakati tacheka, wakati ya kwa jamii na sote hapo ambapo tunajiza yaka kwa yaka kamunua. Yo ya kwa hiyo na ni wana na so mali mo kabuka bali ni yo sababu kwa nini na sisi la kwa ni ya kwa ni ya ni kwa kaka
ziko mokwambiri
okay ziko so doc your response and I'm just surprised about Miriam when she mentioned a pastor. I thought a pastor would use a Bible, but the pastor says get salt within a jar of water. That leaves me confused.
Exactly, and you know, she also mentioned that she was shocked that a plant, you know, it was cut into pieces, and then there's fire. What's your response to her comment, Doc? And she's disagreeing that witchcraft.
I have totally no response. It's very interesting. Where money disappears, it becomes witchcraft. So if money is disappearing, it's either a child has stolen or you didn't have it in the first place.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. Rain-Glo, your smart irrigation partner.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. In case you're just joining us, we're talking about ending harmful traditional beliefs. And in studio, we are joined by Dr. Teddy Mulenga. We apologize for that short interruption that we had earlier on. But anyway, we'll continue with our program this morning. Earlier, before we went on that short break, Doc, we had a woman, a caller, who from Monze, all the way from Monze, she said she believes that witchcraft exists because of certain things that happened to her. Let's say she claimed that money used to get lost in her own house, and then she claims again that her children were not stealing that money. Maybe your response on that?
She has got clever children. That's my response. Clever children. Mm-hmm. Yes, they were able to take without her noticing. Meanwhile, convincing her that they cannot take. Now, we all did that when we were children.
Mm-hmm. Now, this brings me back to the earlier question that I wanted to ask. With the mushrooming of these traditional healers in Lusaka, the CBD of Lusaka and other compounds, do you think this is slowly contributing to people still maintaining the belief that witchcraft do exist in Zambia?
Whenever I see posters in Lusaka or anywhere in Zambia or some adverts, even on radio, sometimes even TV, Dr. Chaputi from Malawi can find a lost lover, can give you promotion, can make you win cases, court cases, a miracle pace or whatever they call it, to make money. This guy is staying in Marapodi in a one-room bedroom, you understand? And he's promising you that he will give you a pace which will produce money. The guy has no minimum in the house. So those are the traditional healers. They are just a bunch.
Let me just hold your thoughts there. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, I'm very push.
It's good to know that Mukushi is watching. Who are we speaking to?
This is great.
Please go ahead Mrs. Kunda, with your contribution.
Yes, doctor, I have a question to the doctor.
Please go ahead.
Dr. Leno.
Yes, I'm listening, Mama.
Yes, sir. You cannot compare the health ethics and tradition. Witchcraft is good. If witchcraft is not real, then therefore does not exist. Witchcraft is real. And this you cannot compare. And now when we are saying witchcraft is real, is that people have been witching and you are, I have a question. I remember when I used to say that we worked at the when we used to say as the patient, and the witchcraft, the landed falsely message and started protecting the people who are killed. So witchcraft is real, and you cannot prepare both ethnicity and witchcraft. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's a question for you.
There's not much. As I told you, I have already done my research. 80% of you believe that witchcraft exists. I would have liked to ask the lady who was phoning if she believes a coffin can point to a witch. Since she's saying witchcraft exists, one of the practices of witchcraft is a coffin that is allegedly pointing out witches. Does she believe that a person, when they are dead, they are in the coffin, they will still run the show and point to witches? This is the question I would have liked to ask. If she's listening, can she answer that question? Mm-hmm. Do coffins move and point at witches since it exists? Mm-hmm. If it exists, if these old women and men who are losing their ways at night naked, are they witches? Because they are being killed. Is that the witchcraft she believes in? That's my two questions.
So, Doc, maybe going forward, especially that we've seen that these things are harmful, especially in rural areas where people have died, should there be more like a committee in the village?
Well, just hold your thought there. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
You're through to the Camnet TV breakfast show.
Can you hear me? Because the line is a bit...
We can get you. We can get you.
You can hear me? Okay, good.
Yes. Please go ahead with your contribution. Come again?
Jordan Fishinga from within Lusaka.
Oh, please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, I would like to refute what Dr. Teddy Mulenga there is saying. I don't think he's living in a real world. Maybe what he should concentrate on is medical issues and not witchcraft. Witchcraft is real. I have experienced it myself personally. There's a time that I was staying in a country, in a foreign country, I won't mention it. There's a river that you used to pass by. You find that in the night, on a tree, you see traffic lights, red, green, and orange, on a tree. And you need to explain to me what that could be. Can you find traffic lights on a tree, Dr. Mulenga?
Yes, you can.
The
reason...
Dr. Mulenga,
listen to me.
In this world,
listen to me.
He has never seen some of these things happen. I was involved in a traffic accident way back in 2005 when I was going to college in Russia. Simply because of witchcraft. People prayed for me, and that's what actually saved me from that accident, from dying. If you remember, there's a bus that overturned at the Lusaka post office. I was in that bus. Purely witchcraft. But then here's a doctor, a qualified medical doctor, refuting that witchcraft is real. Dr. Mulenga, I think what you're doing is you're misleading people a lot.
Can you?
Real. Thank you very much.
Can you stay on? Can you stay for a chat a bit?
Okay, well, it seems to have lost that caller, but anyway, you can respond to him directly.
He was asking me, can you see lights on a tree, green and orange? I have seen a lot of things myself, especially when I was hallucinations. It's all in the mind. Hallucinations is a real thing. You can hear things, you can see things, you can see even a human being coming through the window as you are sleeping at night. Why not? Hallucinations, delusions, seeing what is not there. Everybody, especially when they are younger, they have seen that. They have seen ghosts when they are passing near a graveyard. Why? Because psychologically your mind is set up. So that's not a problem there to see lights. It's a hallucination, delusion. Hallucination is hearing, but delusion is seeing. So that's the explanation. Accident is staying up near the post office. He says an accident happened. Come on, accidents do happen. Is that witchcraft? Even as I'm talking, the accidents happening. So because you are involved, it becomes witchcraft. But when other people are involved, it's not witchcraft.
Mm-hmm. Looking at... looks like we have a... Hello? Hello? Yes, you're through to the Camnet TV breakfast show. Who are we talking to this morning?
And
please, the person contribution, Ian.
Competition, yeah, I think the program is reference the program of because. Hello?
Tukumverani. Tukumverani.
It's like you transition. There's two different things between transition and fire. So the motivation you have no future too. What existing or that existing? Then another question has to start that existing or that existing. Then another question is meaning to answer which that is that is or physical.
Okay, it's como.
Okay.
A question for you, Doc.
I would have loved to. The thing is that they are getting off. I still insist on them answering me. Once they are all insisting witchcraft exists, I'm still asking, do they believe that what is happening in Northwestern Province, Nega, does really exist, that the coffin has been pointing out witches? Why is nobody answering that question?
Doc, I think
because we are losing people in Northern Province, Nega, Southern Province. People are being killed. And people are saying witchcraft exists, which means they believe that coffins can point out witches. So let us continue killing the witches. Why are they not attending to that? This is why I'm sitting here. I didn't come here for science. I've come here to spread sense in our people. So I want the next caller to tell me if they believe witchcraft exists. Do they believe that what is happening in Zambia, where coffins are leading the people to witches and the witches are being killed, is that what they are talking about as witchcraft? Is that what exists?
Maybe we have a caller, but
somebody answer that question for me.
Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning. We are fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very fine.
Please, who are we talking to this morning?
We are talking to Mr. Robert from Kitwe.
It's good to know that Kitwe is watching. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Yes, madam. What it is, Mr. Mesa.
Yes, I'm very fine, sir.
Yes. This world is not everything that we can experiment. Like witchcraft is very, very much alive. And what is your take? Probably on the Jesus Christ who did before the water. Was that real? Because witchcraft, as far as I know, is very real in the sense that
hello?
Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. But anyway, before you answer that, you haven't answered the question for the earlier caller who was asking whether you do believe in Jesus Christ and whether Satan is real.
And I think the viewer is expecting an answer of yes, no,
no.
Not let me also ask a question. So can you answer the call in the previous?
You know why I ignored it to answer that? It has no relevance to the point of discussion. It has no relevance at all.
In what way?
It doesn't answer
the viewer.
It doesn't answer. Yes, the viewer thinks my attitude to Satan.
No. The viewer says
will answer the question whether
witchcraft. Yes.
We have given examples of what I think is happening in the country. This is what is paining me. That coffins are pointing out witches. Old women and men are walking out naked and they are being killed. I've explained to them those things is not witchcraft. And I hope that they learn a little bit that these things either misunderstood dementia, and we have explained dementia is a loss of memory in our old people and other things. This is what I think can help them. My attitude towards whether Satan exists or not will not help the discussion about whether the coffin can point at a witch. Satan and somebody pointing at a witch as a coffin, there's no relationship. Nothing at all. So that's why I ignored that one.
So maybe even as we come to the conclusion of our discussion, Doc, given that these things are prevalent in rural areas, should we have special committee in these places aimed at maybe educating people? Maybe should chiefs actually form special witchcraft committees to actually help maybe in terms of sensitization to reduce incidences of mob justice?
You know what is happening in the rural areas is a little bit very sad. In urban areas, as I said, from my research, 80% do believe that witchcraft exists, and you have heard most of them, including most of you, believe that witchcraft exists. So we agree, but you are not killing people.
No.
You are not killing people in Kabulonga. You just keep your belief to yourself. So that is okay. But in the rural areas, they actually carry out the practice. So what can be done? Spread awareness among police officers, law enforcement officers, to make sure that they take stringent action and fast action in curbing people who are, you know, so-called punishing the witches. That's the law enforcement. Chiefs, the government should organize meetings with chiefs where chiefs are requested to talk to their subjects to desist or be arrested from witch hunting, because what they are doing is witch hunting. For them, nobody dies, okay? Nobody dies in the village. You always die because someone has killed you. In the town, people die. And we know there's sugar disease, HIV, COVID. In the village, there's nothing like that. You die, it's Mr. Mlenga next door.
Let me just hold your thought there. We have a caller. Hello?
Good morning. We've lost that. Anyway, can continue, Doc.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, sorry, that's the police enforcing of law enforcement officers must be, you know.
We have actually heard of people.
We have another caller, Zipporah. Let me just hold your thought there. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Okay. No, Doc, we've also seen people being taken to the police because maybe being reported as in a formal report, such and such a person is reporting, is practicing witchcraft.
Maybe
given that witchcraft can be physically proven, what's the way forward in such a situation? Because we have seen, especially, Miriam, we've seen a number of news articles, especially in the rural areas, where actually some police officers will arrest someone, maybe on
suspicions of practicing
witchcraft, but then witchcraft can be physically proven.
The police, in my opinion, it should not arrest someone for suspicion of witchcraft, because these are mostly just allegations. Police must protect the people who are being accused as witches from being killed by the mob, by mob's justice. So the work of the police is protection. The supposedly acts committed by the so-called witches are just, I mean, if somebody has died, the person has died maybe out of a human natural disease. And so the police cannot arrest somebody to say you have been accused of killing that person. Yes, if it's murder, where the person used poison or knife or something, you can arrest them. But so the people must be protected. So the arrest is to protect you from being maimed by the mob. That's what my opinion is.
Yes, and then, Doc, we've also seen some traditional practices where when someone's wife dies, that person has to marry the young brother in order to cleanse the ghost and something. What effects, negative effects, do such practices have?
Who cleanses the people in China and UK and Canada and USA? Do they cleanse? So do they get sick? No. So these are
what are some of the negative effects of such practices? Because there have been some concerns from stakeholders saying such practices actually spread HIV and other kind of diseases.
Of course, yes. I mean, if you go on sleeping with people you have no idea about, except that they are related to somebody who was related to you, you can transmit or get infected.
But people are still practicing that as we speak.
It should be discouraged. From my last research is that these practices in the villages have been discouraged. And if there's anybody doing cleansing, they are just doing it against the common opinion of the people. It has been very discouraged. Even chiefs don't encourage it. Fortunately, because it was a disaster. A lot of people got got infected and everything.
What would be your last message with regards to our topic of discussion this morning, ending harmful traditional belief?
No, ending witchcraft belief.
Doc, okay, given that many people have believed, some people believe witchcraft exists, some don't, but given that there's this strong belief, and then that there's death of people or lynching to death of people which results from that, what should be done in such a case? Given that some people still believe, what is the way forward on how such issues should be handled, even as you give your concluding remarks?
I will just repeat, the police, the chiefs must work harder and be empowered with knowledge to protect people who are being maliciously, accused of being witches. They must be protected. That's my wish. The belief in most of the people in Zambia is that witchcraft exists, cannot be won today. It's a long battle. It doesn't exist in Denmark, it doesn't exist in UK and USA, but they didn't come to it today. It is a long struggle. So I have hope that the one day Zipporah will not believe in witchcraft and Miriam.
Thank you so much. This is where we come to the end of our Camnet TV breakfast show. We were looking at ending harmful traditional beliefs. And in studio, we were joined by Dr. Teddy Mulenga, who was helping us discuss this topic in details. Thank you so much to our viewers who are watching us live on Facebook and those who are watching us in the comfort of their home. For me, Miriam Kaimba, and my colleague, Zipporah Mshala, it's bye-bye and God bless you.
Thank you.